This is one of my favorite topics and one of the most important topics I will ever cover. Everything I teach, well, not everything, but most things I teach revolve around this one topic. And if you can get this right, everything else in your life is gonna fall into place. So let me start off with a little story. When I was in college, and even in high school, I was no good with women. I didn't have success. I didn't know what to say to them. I wasn't confident. And my roommate and I started reading books on how to pick up women. And although it sounds shallow, really at the core, I wanted to be able to connect with a woman and have a relationship and enjoy that part of my life because I was really bad at it. And from that, I learned that through reading books and personal development, I could get better at things. So that's actually kind of what led me into personal development, one of the factors. But what I realized was there was times when I would be confident and I would flow and I would have a little bit of success and I would feel good and I would feel charismatic. And there were other times when I would just feel awkward and I wouldn't know what to say. And I would really struggle and I would not have success. And I started questioning why. Why is it times I feel so charismatic and so good, and at other times I can't relate to people? And I didn't figure it out until I really got farther along into personal development. And it's because of the idea of state. The state that we're in, the mood, the energy, the vibe that you're in the moment affects your performance in everything that you do. In fact, your capabilities at anything are directly proportional to your state. Your capabilities in anything are directly proportional to the state that you're in. And I noticed when I was able to then manage my state and I started living in higher and higher states, my performance in everything improved. My performance meeting people, with women, with public speaking, with athletics, everything improved once I was able to manage the state that I was in. And I'm gonna give you guys some examples and some ways to manage that. Now, before we get into that, I want you to understand one of my core theories that affects everything that we do. And that is my radio theory. So if you guys understand how a radio works, the antenna resonates with sound waves, and it only picks up, it only transmits what it's resonating with. So if I'm listening to classical music, my antenna is resonating with that classical station, and I hear classical music. Now, if I tune the dial and I change the way my antenna resonates to pick up country, guess what? That classical station is still there. I just can't hear it anymore. All I can hear, all I'm transmitting is that country station. And your brain and your body is like that antenna that is picking up on different radio stations. Most of us have no idea that's going on. We think the thoughts that we're getting are our thoughts. We claim them as our identity, and then we let them affect our lives. Instead, listen to your thoughts. This is why I talk about observing your thoughts. Notice what station you're tuned into, and we're going to use some of these factors to change the radio station we're dialed into. And your thoughts, feelings, actions, and capabilities are all going to change the instant you change your state. So I talk about this a lot as the example that depression, people that are tuned into a depressing station, they don't know that it's a radio station. They've tuned their antenna to resonate with all these thoughts of doubt, of worry, that they're not good enough. But you and I both know that when you tune into a station of gratitude, everything in your world looks like something to be grateful for. Because you only resonate with gratitude, with grateful thoughts. And so we're going to talk about the factors that allow you to swing between those stations and how to do that consistently and reliably to live in that higher and higher state, access more empowering thoughts, and increase your capabilities instantly. Now, your state, often it's said that the identity is the most powerful force in human psychology. And the identity is how we think and believe about ourselves. Well, I know from experience and from watching what happens in hypnosis, that state is even more powerful than identity. The state that you live in is the most powerful force in human psychology. If you ever see somebody get up on a stage during a stage hypnosis show, their capabilities and their state are changed just like that. Someone that was afraid of public speaking, you can be hypnotized in front of an audience and throw off any inhibitions and be an amazing and charismatic public speaker Just like that, even though their identity says that's not who they are, you can change the state in hypnosis or other means, and their performance will increase right away. That's how powerful state is. It affects everything. And remember, everything going on around us, everything in our world is one thing. It's energy. The farther we look into the atom, the more we see that there's really no mass. It's just vibrating energy. And that vibration is the resonance of the antenna. So we're going to tune into that. So if energy is everything and our state is really just our energetic state, everything around us affects our state. The sounds that you hear, the oxygen level of the room you're in, what you're eating, what you're seeing, everything is energy, so everything affects your state. And we're going to talk about the main factors that we can control to shift our state. So here we go. Let's talk about the variables. Now, the first four, if you guys notice, are body language. This is why Hacking Body Language was the first course that I created, because all of these body language variables affect our state. And if you guys watched my universal feedback loop video, you know that the posture affects the state, but the state you're in also affects your posture. So we're going to intentionally move these variables within us to change our state. So for posture, we know that people that are depressed, they might have a posture like this. People that are confident have their shoulders back, their chest up, and they're in a totally different posture. Remember, the posture changes your hormones, and your hormones change the way your antenna resonates. So the thought patterns you tune into from here are going to be much different than the thought patterns you tune into from here. And if you guys want to know what radio station, what thought patterns and emotional patterns someone's tuned into, just look at their posture. You're going to know instantly that that person's feeling confident at the time they're in a confident state, or they're in a depressed state. So that posture is a great thing. It's the first thing that you should notice and shift if you're in a crummy state. Next is our breath. I talk about this a lot. Shallow breathing. If you have a scarce breath, you're going to have a scarce mindset. You're going to have a scarce state. Deep and relaxed breathing also affects your state. You're going to have abundant oxygen. You're going to have an abundant mindset. Now, when I was coaching wrestling, I had my wrestlers, I took them through this meditation and visualization before we went to compete. And I screwed up a little bit because I thought, just being in a nice, relaxed, confident state was going to help them. Well, I had these kids so relaxed, they all felt like they were floating, that when we went to compete, we didn't compete very well, because a relaxed breath is not the best breath to compete at. So we're going to really fine tune these dials, because the breath for a competitor is going to look more like this. Deep and aggressive breaths. That's going to turn you into a different state, different thought patterns, and different capabilities than when you're doing meditation and you're breathing deeply like this. Those two things, while they're both good states, are totally different states, totally different capabilities you're tapping into just with the breath. Next is facial expressions. They took a group of clinically depressed people and they forced them to smile for 20 minutes, 3 times a day, and the symptoms of depression went away. You can't be depressed and smile at the same time. And this is another example of fake it until you make it. If you're in a depressed state, if you're in a low vibe state, and you make yourself smile, it's not gonna feel natural right away. You're gonna have to push through that, get momentum, keep smiling. Your brain's gonna start releasing endorphins, more and more endorphins, and they're gonna smile. You're gonna smile more and more often. Guys, if the only thing you get from any of my content is to smile more often, your life will be better. I make it a point to smile on my videos, when I'm meeting people, when I'm speaking. A smile changes your state, and it changes the state of everyone around you. And again, so not just smiling, but Darwin, in his book, The Expression of Emotions in Man and Animals, said that, excuse me, if somebody had an angry face and they intensified the facial expressions of anger, the emotions would get stronger. So if I'm slightly angry, I'm going to tune into slightly angry thought patterns. But if I change my face to be totally angry and I grip my teeth, the thought patterns, the emotions are going to get stronger. I'm going to be more and more angry just by changing my facial expressions. Next is movement. The way that we move our body affects our state immensely. If I don't have a ton of energy, if I'm not very passionate or motivated, what I'll do is I'll start talking and moving quickly. I have a treadmill in my house, and when I'm working, I'll take a break, I'll put my headphones in, and I'll just walk quickly. I'll shake my body out because that gets my energy higher and it affects my state. The more passionately you talk, when you move your hands, if you move quickly, you're gonna tap into a more passionate state. And if you look at charismatic leaders that are very decisive, the way they move is they're gonna be punctuated movements, fast movements just like this. And someone that's flowing is gonna move like this. We often think of hippies as moving their body in a very flowy manner because that matches their energy. So there's gonna be different times to move your body in different ways, but if you wanna be more passionate, more energized, move more quickly, that'll change your hormones, it'll change the thoughts and emotions that your antenna is resonating with. So those are all body language. If you guys haven't done my Hacking Body Language course, you definitely want to take it. It gets into more specifics, how to tune into very specific thought and emotional patterns. It's fantastic. Next is the people we spend our time with. We all know that we sync brainwaves, we sync energy with the people we're around. In fact, grandfather clocks will sync their second hands. Women, we know, sync the times of the month because it's all energy, and that energy craves like energy. So we're just gonna synchronize ourselves with the people that we're around. This is why it's so important to hang around people that are steps ahead of you. This is why I'm always finding mentors, coaches. I try to be the dumbest guy in any room because everyone around me, I'm gonna pick up on their brainwaves and I'm gonna get smarter. Be very picky with the people you spend your time with. Even if you don't like them, you'll still start syncing up. Next is our diet and hydration. I'm sure you guys have had big meals where all you want to do is go into a food coma and go to sleep, right? Food does not always give us energy. In fact, most of the time it takes away energy with the standard American diet. So you've also, I'm sure, had like a green smoothie or a juice and like felt instant energy. Our diet affects our state and it happens like that. When I'm in a high state, high energy, and I have a meal, like I just feel it start to slow me down. This is the power of fasting as well. So this is why I'm such a big proponent of diet, not only for a healthy body, but because our state and our capabilities are hugely affected by it. Next is hydration. If you guys aren't hydrated, the signals, the nervous system signals that get sent through your body get conducted through water. If you're not hydrated enough, those are going to be slowed down. You're not going to be operating at optimum efficiency. So diet and hydration are huge. The next is our language and our tone. The words that we use can affect our state dramatically. Oftentimes when I'm around people, I'll hear their language patterns and I'll correct them, or I'll notice things about them. I'll notice the state they're in just by the language that they're using. And I'm not gonna get too far into that. I have 2 courses on this, 30 Days of Influential Language Hacks, Volume 1 and 2. That's everything about how our language affects our state. Not only that, but the tonality we use. If we are speaking softly, we're gonna tune into a different state and different thought patterns. Then if we speak loudly and we project our voice, it's totally different emotions created within us just from that. Also, the sounds around us. If you guys know, if you've used like any energy healing bowls, crystal bowls, that sound is vibration, and that affects the vibration of our cells. It affects the thought patterns we're tapped into. Next is the focus and meaning we give things. I was a few days ago just really kind of disappointed by somebody, and I was focusing on that, and that was bringing me into a lower and lower state. And so what I did is I put a song on that I like, and I changed my focus to my vision of the future for my business. And I focused on what it would be like, what it's gonna be like when I'm speaking to an audience from a, have a big platform and my content's doing well and people are telling me I'm changing their lives. And the more I focused on that, the higher and higher my state got, my emotions shifted, my hormones shifted, the thought patterns, the way I perceive the world, all changed just by changing my focus. Remember, what you focus on, you feel. And what you feel is really what your antenna is resonating with. And very similar is the meaning that we give things. If we can find the good in anything, the thought patterns, the emotions, the actions you take are gonna change, and it's gonna change your state. Finally then, and remember, this is not comprehensive, these are some of the variables that I use to change my state. Visual, the pictures that we see around us affect our state, but the pictures we make in our head also affect our state. This is why visualization is so important. We're training ourselves to see ourselves in a certain way, to perform in a certain way that conditions our antenna to resonate with certain thought patterns. And again, we'll get into this later with the modalities, but if we change just the way that picture appears to us, we can change our state just by doing that. We can have the same picture up close or far away, and our state will change, our emotions will change just like that with that little shift. So these are some of the variables that affect the state that you're in, that affect your emotions. And guys, state not only affects you, it also affects what you attract. Remember, if we get into the law of attraction, photon entanglement, we're entangled with everything in the universe. When we study quantum physics, we realize this. We're entangled with everything in the universe, and your state affects the signal that your antenna sends out, and it affects what you draw back in. Remember, because like energy attracts like energy. So you're gonna only attract people and results and experiences in your life that you resonate with. And what you're resonating with is your state. So these are the factors that you can shift to get everything that you want in life. Stand tall, breathe deep, smile big, hang out with successful people, move your body in a passionate way, eat healthy, eat green foods, drink a lot of water, change your language to be positive, and then focus on what you want in life. Your antenna is gonna change. Everything in your life is gonna change just based on these variables because of the state that you're in. And you wanna condition that over and over and over. And remember, sometimes we have momentum in a direction we don't wanna go. We'll have momentum in depressed or anxious states, and we have to keep forcing ourselves to shift into higher and higher states of being to attract different things and to live a better life and get momentum in the positive direction. Now, the first time I attended a Tony Robbins event, I went to Unleash the Power Within. It was in Dallas, and it was almost exactly 3 years ago. And when I was there, Tony does an amazing job of getting everyone into the most powerful state they've ever experienced. Higher and higher levels of energy. Nobody sleeps, but you're moving your body in a passionate way. You're speaking loudly, and you're doing all of these things to tune your antenna into higher and higher vibrations. And at that event, I hit this state, I felt unstoppable. The way that I perceived my life was so different. I wasn't on any drugs. I was just in an elevated state of mind, an elevated state of being. The way I saw my business, the path forward, the way I saw relationships I was in, everything was totally different from that state because I was resonating with different thought patterns. So you guys can tune into different states just like that and condition it over and over. This course has a ton on state management. Next, we're gonna talk about ego states, how we can train ourselves to tap into certain ego states, how that affects everything we do. Most of my work these days has to do with ego states. It's one of my favorite topics.